Good evening, everyone. It's 9:03. We'll call this meeting to order. Mr. Young, Mr. Woods,
Present.
Mr. Thomas,
Present.
Mr. Schaefer,
Present.
Ms. Lewis. Present. Dr. Carnell. We have a quorum present. Moving to item B, election of the board chair and vice chair for a term to be determined by the board. Do we have a motion to elect the board chair?
Motion to nominate Mr. Thomas here.
Do we have a second? I second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Would it be appropriate for me to vote
Yes.
for myself?
Yes.
I'll vote for myself.
That's the spirit.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, does the board have a nominee for vice chair?
Make a motion to nominate Ms. Lewis as vice chair.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Thank you.
Careful what you wish for.
So I was just advised that we need a motion for term lengths for both chair and vice chair.
Could I ask a question? I asked you, Joe, maybe 2 months ago about how long my term, when my term is up. When is my term up?
Through the chair, this is Joe Slasek. I believe your term ends on the end of this year, and I forget the end of. Yeah, I believe it's the end of 2023, December 31st, 2023, I believe.
Okay, well, I think that answers the question in terms of my term. I would have to be reappointed if I'm appointed again to the board, so that's kind of a simple matter. I'm accepting what Joe said about when my term is up.
Okay. Okay.
So whenever it's up, where he said at the end of this year, beginning of 2023.
Joe, you want to check? That's August of 2024. This is the first. So sure. Yeah.
Through the chair, that's correct. Actually, Mr. Thomas, your term ends December 31st, 2024.
Oh, okay.
That was mistaken.
So I could have, oh, I see, okay. I don't know if somebody has to make a motion for that, but I would be willing to do that for that point. And I think that Ms. Lewis just said she had 2 more years.
Yeah.
And we'll ask her if she can be willing to serve as chair, vice chair for
Yes.
2 years. But you need a motion for that?
Yes, for both.
I make a motion to extend or to make these appointments to the end of December of 2024.
Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now, congratulations. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Chair Thomas.
All right, well, moving down the list, I see we're at item number C, approval of the December 14, 2022 meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I'm good.
Mr. Schaefer?
I'm good with it, yes.
Mr. Woods, I don't think you would know much about it, but you
Really
really, we'll rely on Ms. Lewis and Mr. Schaefer. And I don't have any questions or concern. So I guess the question is somebody going to make a motion to approve the minutes for the December 2022 meeting?
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay,
Discussion
discussion?
and vote.
There any discussion on the minutes? There's not gonna be any discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving down to item D, unfinished business. I'll turn to Mr. Longstreet on that. I know we have a hearing scheduled for today. I'm not certain whether parties, the complainant and the witness from the sheriff's department, is anybody here on that matter right now?
Not that I'm aware of, however,
Yes.
you are
And listen.
Ms. Hilson. Ms. Hilson has arrived. However, the complainant has not arrived. However, my notice of hearing was noticed for the meeting location on the first floor. So I'd like to take a moment in due diligence and fairness to check and see if Ms. Jackson Broxton reported to the first floor, did not hear. Otherwise, has failed to appear. And my suggestion would be at this point, my recommendation, is she has not appeared, to dismiss her complaint.
All right, unless somebody disagrees, I'd like to take a break for 5 minutes, giving Mr. Longstreet a chance to go downstairs and check on the complaint.
And move fast and make it happen.
Right.
How are you?
Coach you.
Congratulations.
You.
Sure, Jay.
Been doing some work in here, they told me downstairs, I'll be on the room where we normally meet. It's the first time that I've been out with you guys.
Yes,
You.
Preliminary information, including a fire report from February 3rd, 2020 of the subject location, which is 7123 Chadfield within the city of Detroit County, Wayne State, Michigan. We also received information in regards to the receipt that was received that was given to Ms. Jackson Broxton by the Sheriff's Department, indicating she paid $44,400 on a property she purchased for $4,401. What do we have covered?
40.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're a little bit late. We sent somebody downstairs to look for you. But unless somebody has an objection, I think what we should do now, even though she's tardy, she wasn't here at 9 o'clock, I think we have to proceed. So with that said, Mr. Longstreet, are you prepared to call the complainant and let her testify?
Yes.
And then call the two individuals from the fire department? Where do we want to have her? So we don't have the podium. Well, if she testifies from the podium, nobody will be able to see her. At least I won't. Could we move that Could that podium be moved up or can it because of wires?
There's no audio at the podium.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'll move down.
Idea, and it would be to have you sit up here. So everybody could see you, and then when the other witnesses are called. When this, and it's good on the call, get your key. Make yourself comfortable. Thank you. Tap this microphone down. You don't have to get real close, that should be good. Are you squared away there? You ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Harold Longstreet is the attorney for the board, and he's going to begin the proceeding by questioning you. He'll have you state your name for the record, and he'll kind of walk you through a list of questions that he has based upon your complaint. After he's done, we're going to turn it over to board members. Board members may have questions. Mr. Lewis, or Miss Lewis, I'm sorry, Mr. Schaefer, Mr. Wood, and myself. My name is Phil Thomas. So we're going to proceed, and then we also have witnesses from the fire department that are going to be testifying. Mr. Longstreet, would you like to proceed?
I would, thank you. Good morning, ma'am. Can you please state your name for the record and spell your first and last name for us?
Good morning, board. Thank you all, each and every last one of you for bringing to this hearing.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Jacqueline Jackson,
If you spell that for us, please.
JACQUELINE. That's Jacqueline. Jackson is JACKSON. Broxton is BROXTON.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Jackson Broxton, you filed a complaint against the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. We'll close your auction sales department. Is that correct?
Yes.
And your complaint alleges violation of the enrolled ethics ordinance, section 40.4 and 40.7, indicating your allegations being unlawful or a unlawful withholding of your funds and retaliation for your complaining due to the sheriff's department's failure to comply with the bidding rules. Is that correct?
This is what I'm, yes.
Okay. Understand, for purposes of this hearing, we do appreciate the fact that you wrote out a very detailed complaint. However, the only issue that we're addressing in this particular hearing is the allegation involving the June 23rd, 2022 auction. We indicate that at a certain point, there was $4,400 in cash that was withheld from you. No receipt was given to you, and you were retaliated against by the sheriff's department because you complained in regards to their failure to comply with the rules.
That's correct.
All right. Now, ma'am, you purchased this property on the date of June 23rd, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And on that particular day, you went through the bidding process to purchase this property. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And do you know how many other persons at that auction participated in that auction?
3.
3. And of those persons that participated in the auction, you were the winning bidder. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And as the winning bidder, you bid $4,400 or $4,400 for this particular property,
yes,
and you won the property, correct?
yes,
Okay. And on that particular day, you provided to the Wayne County Sheriff Department foreclosure auction sale department a check in the amount of $4,400. Is that correct?
No.
You did not?
No.
How did you provide that money to them?
$100 bills.
You provided them in all $100 bills?
Yes,
You did not provide a check to them?
not for $4,400.
How did you provide that money to them?
I went to the bank and got a cashier's check for $1. And then I also received another cashier's check for my overage for $5,000.
Okay. And you purchased the property for $4,400. Why did you get a check for $5,000 for overage?
Because normally you need a cashier's check when you bid at the foreclosure auction for any overages. So for whatever amount you're gonna bid, up to that amount, you need to have those funds.
Okay. And you had $4,400 in cash with you at the time?
I had more than that.
Okay. And you provided that to the sheriff department?
That was provided, yes.
Okay. Now, did you receive a receipt from the sheriff department? Or what I'd like to show you is going to be marked as Wayne County Debt for the exhibit A for identification purposes, ma'am. Have you seen or are you aware of this document?
Yes.
And can you tell the members of the board what document I just provided to you?
Wayne County Sheriff's Department, mortgage foreclosure sale, third-party information sheet.
Okay. And have you received that document in the past?
This is the first time I ever filled it out.
Okay, this is the first time you ever seen that document?
First time I ever I filled it out.
Okay,
This was my first time.
okay, so you did this?
Yes.
Okay, and it indicates how much money you paid to the Wayne County Sheriff's Department?
Yeah. Somebody wrote something at the bottom. Yeah.
But that didn't exist on your original copy?
No.
Okay, thank you. At a certain point, do you go to the property location of 7123 Chadfield in the city of Detroit? After you purchase the property?
Did I go to it?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, and at a certain point, did you discover that the property had burned?
yes.
When did you discover that?
I went to it.
And was it on the 23rd or 24th? June 2022.
Multiple times.
Okay. And did you observe this property prior to purchasing the property? And do you know, or you have any knowledge of when the property burned? You're unaware that this property burned 2 years prior to your purchase of the property?
And now,
And at the share foreclosure auction sale, properties are purchased in an as-is condition.
Yes.
Can you tell the board, you've indicated in your complaint that $4,400 was unlawfully withheld. Please explain to the board how it was unlawfully withheld.
Well, I feel like it was unlawfully withheld because first of all, the auction that I participated in, I was the last auction. Once the high bidder was announced, the auction was immediately closed. No funds were verified. Period, it was closed. After that, everyone proceeded to the podium, which is normal practice. At this particular time, all winning bidders come up as well as the last bidder, which happens to be the three people who participated in my auction.
Okay, let me stop you there. You indicated 3 people participated in your particular auction for this house, the subject house on Chatfield, correct?
Yes,
All right. And you were the highest of the 3 bidders, correct?
yes,
And only if you did not secure the proper funds will the next person have the next person's property, correct? According to what you know?
no,
Is it fair to say that unless you didn't have $4,400, someone else could have then purchased the property at the next highest bid, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us how that works from your knowledge.
to my knowledge, once the auction is closed, it's closed.
Okay, so no one else can get the property, you win for $4,400 and that's the end of the bidding process.
Once the auction is closed, nothing else can happen.
Okay, so the auction closes, you won the bid, no one else can get the house with you, correct?
At my auction that early,
With all due respect, ma'am, please answer the direct question. Direct question is, once the auction is closed, you're the highest bidder. You're the only one that can get the property, correct?
it's closed. Before the auction is closed, the funds should be verified. So that if all parties do not have the amount that they bid, then the auction can be done over.
Okay. Now, is it fair to say, once they determine you have the money, there's no need to question anybody else?
Well, all bidders who bid must come up and show and verify their fund.
Okay, I got it. But you won, correct?
I won,
Okay,
but nothing was verified before freeway.
okay. But the question is, you won, correct?
Highest bidder, yes,
Okay. You paid, correct?
yes, I paid.
You got title to the property, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, you still don't have title to the property?
No.
Okay. Don't you have title to the property?
Because the whole process was not followed completely. So therefore, all things were not done as they should have been done.
Jazz, please.
Such as we never closed the auction before all funds are verified. So if you have competing bidders, those persons must also show their fund.
Let me stop you there for a second. Why does the second person who doesn't have the right to purchase a property need to show verifications for funds for a property they can't buy?
Because therefore you now have frivolous bidding. You have people who will bid up the property, but they don't have the funds to secure that property. So therefore, the person who overbids and no one verifies that they overbid it, now that person is stuck. Whereas if it's held earlier during the procedure where all other bids are verified, but if you close it off, there can't be any redos. So if it's earlier, there could be a redo because those funds are verified. But if you close it before all funds have been counted and calculated, you can't do it.
Okay, so you're saying you could have got the property cheaper.
I could have got it cheaper. I could have got it for $1.
See.
And that's what has happened in the past and previously and subsequently and thereafter.
Okay, so on this particular day, you're indicating that you could have got the property for
About
$1.
Yes,
However, there were two other people who also bid on the same property.
yes,
And ultimately, you were the winning bidder at $4,400, correct?
yes,
All right, and you're indicating the reason why the bid went up is because you had two other people bidding against you, and it was time to verify the funds, they didn't have the money, so they bid it frivolously to drive up the price of the property. Is that what you're saying?
yes,
Okay, got it. You did pay the $4,400, correct?
yes,
And then you paid the $1, correct?
yes.
So your transaction with the sheriff's department is complete upon paying the money, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what else would you have to do?
But what else has to be done is the form was completed as per the bidding rules. The funds were delivered for the bidding rules. No receipt was received or given for my funds, which was cash. So, you know, that's untraceable.
Mhm.
So as you see, you know, we're here and you see that I did pay 4,400.
Mhm.
I later get a call saying, hey, I need you to come back down because you didn't endorse your check. So I came down at my earliest convenience.
Mhm.
And and that's when you know, that's when I came back down to the sheriff's office.
Okay. Any other questions on the board?
I do. And after me, we'll go around the table. Ma'am, do you want me to call you Miss Jackson Braxton, or do you just go by Braxton?
Yes,
Braxton. Miss Braxton, after the bidding occurred that day, and you, from your perspective, completed your end, your duties to purchase the property, did you then go to look at the property?
Yeah.
Okay, was it that same day you went to look at the property?
Yeah.
So prior to that day, according to your testimony, you had never even gone to see the property. You didn't know what kind of condition it was in. That's what you told Mr.
That's correct.
Okay. So the bidding was completed, and when you went to see the house, could you please describe the condition to us? I know you mentioned it in your complaint, but could you please, while we're on the record, describe what you saw that made you unsatisfied with the conditions of that house?
Well, actually, the house is really in a good location. It's my opinion, being a realtor, that anything along the water from Alter Road, Astor Bridge, the land is good. They're not building anything. So there was a lot of things that happened during that time. But yes, did I make mention of what I saw right then? Did I notice? The reason why I noticed that he didn't have his funds was because when I was set to be it, I set up towards the front. So I was right there. So that's why I was there first. And when it came time for me to get ready to go back to the bank, get the exact amount of cashier's check, which I thought was the case. And I was advised that cash was acceptable. I also noticed that this guy was digging for money. So that was right there.
All right, my question is this. There were individuals from the sheriff's department there at the time that everything that you just talked about took place. As a matter of fact, two people went and caught the guy that fled from the scene. They brought him back.
Mhm.
My question that I had asked was a little bit different.
Okay.
Did you ever complain to the representatives from the sheriff's department that conducted the sale? Did you ever say, wait a minute, I don't want to go forward with the sale because that individual was unable to verify his funds? That's really my question. Did that occur?
Not in the words that you just mentioned, but that did occur.
Did you complain about it and tell them that you wanted to rescind the sale, that you didn't want to go forward with it?
I didn't use those words.
Well, you have to tell me. My question is, did you ever ask them to set the transaction aside because of the irregularity regarding the individual that couldn't verify his funds? Did you ever ask those
I
words?
did.
Okay, what words did you use to the best of your recollection?
So that's my recollection. I indicated that because the person didn't have their funds,
Mhm.
that it should either be done over or I should get the property for $1.
All right, I'd like to ask a question. We have two representatives here from the sheriff's department.
Okay.
And I want you to be honest. I've never met them before. I've never seen them. I didn't recognize them when they came in. Would you be able to bend around from the table to take a look at them and tell us whether either or both of them were present on the day of the auction, according to your memory of June 23rd?
Just one of the persons.
Which person is that? The male or the female?
The female.
The female. Thank you. I have no further questions. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Lewis.
How are you? I just have a question. When the final bids were finalized and you had won, do you recall what the other two bids were?
Well, I started off with the 100, maybe $1. Like I said, two other people participated. One guy, first name was Jay. I don't know the other person because he's not a normal person that comes to bid. Sir, the rest of your question.
Oh, do you recall what the amounts were? Because you were the winning bid. Do you recall what the other two were?
That it was on the recording of it, but I believe after we started bidding, because I think that the bids could go $1, $1, 100, I think it's something like that, about having the bidding rules.
So do you know the amount of the bid that you beat? You went up to 4,400.
I want to say it was 4,200.
So it's active bidding back and forth and you won. No one outbid you.
Right.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Schaefer? Excuse me, you indicated you did not get a receipt. I have something here to show $1 cashier's check. Here's, says, sorry. There we go. I'm sorry. I'll repeat it. I'm a little confused about you said you did not get a receipt. I have a document that was in our package that shows that Chase Bank cashier's check in the amount of $1. It's paid at the order of Jacqueline Broxton. And then I have a Wayne County Sheriff's receipt for $4,400. Did you split that before?
That was afterwards.
Okay, so would you agree that this is the receipt for your $4,400?
Well, that's kind of far over there. So
Pardon me?
that's kind of far.
Could I speak, Mr. Schaefer? I'm sorry. You get them.
I never wear glasses, but I.
Sorry about that.
Davis. I didn't get it on that day when I walked away with nothing. I rendered my $400 or $4,400 in cash. I
Okay,
did not get that on that day that I rendered mine.
did you eventually receive this document that shows the $4,400 paid into the Wayne County Sheriff's Department?
Eventually I did, yes.
Okay, so you did get the receipt the date of the transaction, you got a receipt at a later date.
Yeah.
Did that satisfy you as it relates to your obtaining a receipt for the sale of the property?
So the satisfy me as a receipt?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm a little confused also, you said you do not have title to the property?
No, no.
And can you tell me why you don't have title to the property? Did you apply for it?
Well, the transaction was never totally completed. Because if the transaction had been completed, that check would have been endorsed by me to whoever the seller of the property was. Yeah, the bank or the mortgage company.
Well, your $4,400 was paid into the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. Is that been refunded to you?
Yeah.
So you paid $4,400
Yes,
and you don't have a title to the property yet, correct?
correct.
And what have you done to obtain title to the property?
I went back to the sheriff's office and issued 2 different documents for share sales that were conducted to see how I can get my overreach.
What do you mean by the overreach?
I have another property that was that was auctioned off by Wayne County Sheriff Sales, and there was overages. And I went and got the deed, and I went and got another document I filled out a form. And both of those were submitted to the Sheriff's Department for me to obtain my overages. So whenever anything is auctioned and the price goes over what the bank asks for, the homeowner normally gets the overage. And so I submitted 2 requests and neither one of them have been touched.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that. So you
Refunded me. I'm on over $8,000.
that's including another property.
That's important.
Does that also include the $4,400 that we're talking about for the Chatfield Street property?
4,400 for Chatfield. I have to see what the overages is for the other property. Yes.
Okay. I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean by overages. You bid $4,400, you paid $4,400 to the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. You have a receipt for that amount. And I'm unclear as to why you don't have a title for that property.
I don't have a title to that property because the whole process, the whole bidding process was not followed for the rules and for the guidelines. So therefore, the sale wasn't completed because the rules were not abided by. So therefore, I don't have title yet.
And the rules that you're claiming were not abided by was that one of the bidders did not have verified funds. Is that the rule you're talking about?
Well, the frivolous bidding, the unendorsement of my check,
Uh-huh.
no receipt, none of that.
Are you talking about endorsement of the dollar check?
Mhm.
Okay, they got to keep the back of the check to see that it was deposited, but you paid cash. They gave you a cash receipt.
But in order for that transaction to be completed, normally when you buy property at the auction, you endorse it to whoever the mortgager or the bank is.
It's probably on the back of the check, but you only have the front. Endorsements are normally on the back.
I never endorsed it.
Okay. The dollar. So you're saying you endorse the dollar, that should have
That makes the sale void.
Okay.
Who was the second highest bidder? Do you know who that was?
No, this person wasn't a regular person who comes in and bids.
But he was the second highest bidder?
Yeah.
Was he the one that ran?
Mr. Longstreet, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Woods.
He asked the question I was gonna ask, but I'm following up with it. For the gentleman who had the frivolous bid,
Mhm.
$3,200, he couldn't verify the funds. Therefore, it should have reverted to the first bid. Who had the first bid? How much was that?
$1.
$1.
And that was me.
Okay, we had first bid, and he kicked it up to 3,200. Didn't have the funds, so it should revert according back to right to the rules, $1, correct?
Right.
Knowing those rules, why would you be at 4,400?
Because when he came to verify his bond, and the director told him, oh, it's okay, you know, you can go. To me, that was unjust.
Then my question still is, why would you bid 4,400 on a property that the man who bid prior to you could not verify the funds? You had already won the bid at $1. Why would you, because it reverts back to the first bid, correct? Why would you then bid 4,400 for that property?
Because the auction was closed. The bonds had never been verified during the auction because the auction was closed.
Was your fund verified prior to the auction? For doing the auction for $1?
Nothing was verified because the auction was closed. If the auction was closed, nothing can, you can't open it back up.
So they're saying you bid on a closed auction.
No, I bid it. Once I bid at the highest bid, she hit the gavel and the auction was closed.
Okay, I understand that.
So afterwards, when everybody who had won, everybody who had won, their funds had been previously verified. The last auction, which was my auction, those funds were not verified.
So you're saying that the $1 that you got the check for had not been verified, you get the property for $1. Okay,
It wasn't verified, it was closed.
the question still is, why would you bid $4,400 on that if you know the rules and reverse back to the prior bid? Why at that point would you bid $4,400 on a property that you had never seen?
I mean, when we were bidding, the auction was open.
I understand.
So it wasn't, our funds wasn't verified during the auction while it was open. Because we were allowed, it was closed. The gavel was hit, it was done. Then the last bidder, as well as the previous winner, all came up to endorse their information.
Right.
But because the auction was closed too soon, nobody's funds were verified for that last auction. Does that make sense? Like, can anybody kind of follow me? Everything has to be verified when it comes to the funds before the auction is closed. If you close the auction, you're not verifying the last auction if you close it before it's over. So had it gone, if the funds would have been verified, then that auction may have become invalid, which means it would have had to go over, and then I could have bid it to $1. But because it was closed, there was nothing else that could be done at that point.
But you bid the $1 in the open auction, correct?
Yes.
So that when it was closed, a bid that was for privilege would have reverted back to your original. When did you bid the $4,400?
During the auction was over.
No, that's my point. Why would you bid that knowing that it would revert back to the dollar? You need open auction.
Okay. Because the auction, once you close it, they don't open it back up. It should have been opened back up, so I could have gotten it for $1. But since the auction was closed, she couldn't say, hey, he previously bid it. We're gonna do it again, because everybody had left because it was closed. The auction was closed at that point. So,
I understand totally.
do you?
Yes, I understand that the auction was closed. All the bids were taken. Everyone had to get their funds verified when the auction was closed.
Except for us. No, everybody gets their funds verified during the auction,
Okay,
before it's closed.
okay. So they did not verify the young man's funds during the auction.
They didn't verify the last auction with the 7123.
Okay.
That property, the funds were never verified during the auction
Your funds, his funds, or anyone's funds
for that property.
for that property.
Yes. The previous properties were verified.
Okay.
Had the funds been verified, it would have been noted that his bid was frivolous. That he wouldn't have had the funds to, participate in that auction. So therefore, it would have reverted back to me for $1 since I was the open bidder. But because it was closed, that couldn't be done.
But you said that you noticed that you went on to pay the $4,400 and finalized the bid.
What I did was, because I was closest, when I got ready to bid, when I'm bidding, I want to be close enough because you're in an auditorium.
Right, but if you thought it was frivolous, because you said that kind of saw some interaction that the guy didn't have the funds and you could have went back to $1, why would you go on to pay for the property? If you at that point said, I'm not interested because I felt this way, why would you go on to pay for it?
Because I got their report on. I'm closest to the stage.
Right, I understand it,
I'm on the first row. So
but you still wanted the property.
what I'm saying is this, because I was first to get there to verify my funds, the second highest bidder, all of us were supposed to verify our funds. The other person that participated in the auction, he bids all the time. He bids for a trust fund. Well, he bids all the time.
Well, you know,
So for him to have, I'm pretty sure he had his $1 cashier's check. So that's really what you're supposed to show. First, to show that you, any item that's on that list that they call up, you have to have that minimum bid to even bid.
but at what point did you notice that the second bidder was frivolous that you're saying?
When it came time to verify the funds.
Okay, and you had already paid the $4,400.
I was there first. And my
After
money,
you paid and noticed,
after I paid, then this guy, who, like I said,
but you had one and paid already.
I had one and paid already before I found out that he didn't have all his money. You understand what I'm saying?
How about the number 2 guy that was bidding, the guy that you said that's there all the time with the auction or with the trust fund?
Mhm.
Do you know what he bid up to?
No. Yeah, he dropped out long before, so it was me and the second guy going on.
You have to verify the purchase price or verify the starting bid price.
All of it has to be there.
Nice.
Because if not, if you're bidding, let's say it's my property, I'm gonna get rid of this property. So if I keep bidding it up and I don't have the money to pay for it, the person who has the money and bids up here, you're stuck with that. I mean, I can tell you even on other days when, like September the 7th, it was bidding. You have people who have been doing this for ages.
Maybe the other person wanted a good deal also. It was over his price range.
Well, no,
Maybe that second bidder, you know,
see, everything has to be verified, even down to the cent.
Right.
So let's say if something is 17,000, if it's supposed to be 17,001 cent, and you don't have that 1 cent, you can't bid. So everything has to be exact. And so if it's not verified that your check is not the exact amount, you can't beat it.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been in real estate
I'm bidding. How long have you been doing
for years,
this? Oh,
for years, and not just one county, I go Oakland, Macomb, Washington, County, so I go all over.
Any other questions from Ms. Braxton? Mr. Longstreet?
No.
Well, Ms. Braxton, I'm gonna make a request. We're gonna hear from one or both, no, you could sit there. I'm gonna let the person who's gonna testify from the sheriff department sit here. So what I would like to do is I would like to have you present to hear the testimony. And then after that person testifies, one or both of them, we may want to give you an opportunity to amplify your answers or rebut some of what they said. Do you have any problem with staying here for the remainder? Okay. Who do you want to call next, Mr. Longstreet?
Ms. Hilson.
Ms. Hilton? I'll move over a little bit more so you could, if you come up just a little bit, they'll be able to pick you up on the camera. You got to come down just a little bit more. There you go. You're on.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning,
Please state your name for the record.
Terry Sims Hilson,
And can you spell that for us, please?
Terri, Sims, Sims, Hilson, Hilson.
And can you tell us how you're employed?
Say that again.
Can you tell us how you are employed?
I am Director of Court Services with the Sheriff's Department.
Okay. And were you working with the Sheriff's Department on or about June 23rd, 2022?
Yes, I was.
And were you working in the same capacity as you are now with the Sheriff's Department on June 23rd, 2022?
Yes,
Okay. And did you or do you participate in the Wayne County Sheriff's Department foreclosure auction sales?
yes, I do.
Okay. And can you please explain to the board what your role is in the Sheriff's Department foreclosure auction sale?
That day, I acted as the auctioneer. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I wasn't the auctioneer, but we had two people, the auctioneer and then the person that verifies the funds and collect the money. So the auctioneer can focus on, reading addresses. So I was the second person.
Okay. Can you tell us the process of the verifying funds?
So what happens is after each sale, if there's competitive bidding, the person has to come up and show that they have the opening bid amount. So they have to have the exact amount of the opening bid amount, which is read at the first half of the auction. And then if there is competitive bidding, all the parties have to come up and show that they have the opening bid amount and the amount to cover any overage that they bid out. So hypothetically, you got three people and all three persons have to show that they have the funds to cover the amount of the bid that they bid up to. Because some people do stop, if it's going higher and higher, but that person still has to come up and show that they can cover the amount that they bid up to avoid frivolous bidding.
And do you recall the auction that occurred in regards to the 7123 Chatfield Street?
Very well. Yes.
And are you familiar with Ms. Jackson Broxton?
Yes.
All right. And then can you tell me how you came in contact with Ms. Jackson Broxton?
So Ms. Jackson Broxton was the winning bidder on that property. And there were three bidders and two other bidders, and she was the winning bidder. So it started at $1, and then there's back and forth. And I actually have the actual deed with me, so I'm gonna pass this around on how it goes, to kind of give you all familiar how the bidding takes place. So on this day, there was a regular bidder, Ms. Broxton. That's her first time. I think I'm familiar with her actually participating in the bid. And she was the highest bidder.
Mhm.
This was the last sale, so you have to close out a sale. So you won't allow people to continue to bid while you're checking funds. So once the highest bidder, any other bids, okay, the sale is closed and over. So the people have to come up and they verify their funds. Now, Ms. Broxton, the reason why she knew about the cash is because the PICO guy you'll see on there, he was verifying his funds in cash. So he had $1 opening and then he had cash. So she stopped. She said, oh, you can pay in cash. We said, yeah. So that's how she ended up paying her $4,400 in cash. But she was going to go to the bank and get her money because she told me that because I'm the one checking the money. So she said, I'm going to go to the bank and get my funds. I'm like, okay, so I'm counting Mr. Pico's money. Jake is a regular bidder. So he had a cashier's check for $1. And then he had a big cashier's check because we allowed them to go and get the actual amount of the money. So we won't have, we can't take in this extra money. So they go to the bank, they have 1 hour to go and secure their funds, the exact amount of money. They didn't meet us at the sheriff's department because we hold it in the auditorium. So we had to go back to the office and take, the cash and complete the transaction.
Who verified on the property on the 7123 Chatfield property?
All parties' funds were verified.
Okay, and do you have any proof or evidence of that, of the verification of funds?
Well, I had Michelle, my coworker, and then there's another lady that sits there on the that's from the Detroit Legal News. She was there. I can't say 100% she was paying attention, but it will be her. It will be the other bidders. They would know that we had to check their funds.
Is there any documentation on the verification of funds? Or do you just say, hey, okay, you got the money in? That's it.
No, we count it, and unfortunately, so there's a camera in the auditorium, and unfortunately, the time had passed because we tried to get a camera to show, what's going on in the auditorium, and they don't keep it. I think it's a certain amount of time that they keep video footage because we did try to get the video because it would show everybody up there and what we were doing. So again, the guy Pico, he had cash and Jake had a big check, and she eventually ended up paying cash.
And were all parties present when the funds were verified? Or were they verified individually without other persons being present?
No, everybody is right there. So Mr. Pico, he's not a regular bidder. So he did attempt to leave, but the officer had, told him he had to come back and verify his funds. Because everybody's leaving, you say it's closing over. So he attempted to leave, but he didn't get to the hallway. It was just like, hey, you gotta verify your funds. So he came back and he had cash in an envelope. So I had to count the cash, and I think it was like he needed another 150 or something. And then he was first searching, and then he said, "Oh," and then he put out his wallet and showed me $200. Like, okay, so you're fine. So everybody had their money.
So it's your testimony, you actually saw the money.
I was the verifier. Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Okay, very good. At what point did you discover that the property that Chatfield was burned?
And Miss Jackson came in the next day because we had called her because she had to endorse the dollar check. It was an oversight. It happens sometimes. You get to endorse your check over. So the opening bid check gets endorsed over to the mortgage company. And she had left and didn't endorse her check. So we called, this has happened. And she said, okay, I'll be back in the morning. Okay, that's fine. And she came back the next morning and we talked for like 30 minutes in the hallway because she was telling me that she thought one of the bidders had went and set the house on fire. And I'm like, wow, that's not something that happens that I know of. But, I don't know. And she was telling me, yes, she believed they went and set the house on fire. And it was a long conversation. Bottom line, she then through this conversation started to tell me, and you didn't check the funds. So I'm like, no, I did verify the funds. And
Let me stop you there. No one complained on the day of the auction that the funds weren't verified.
not one complaint.
And everybody stood at the podium at the same time and said, hey, hold on, you didn't check that one.
Not
That didn't
one
happen?
complaint.
Okay. It happened the next day. After it was discovered out.
After she paid her money and she was coming back to endorse the dollar check, she came in. I thinking we get ready to complete this, and she said, she wanted to talk to me. So I went in the hallway and we sat there. And I even suggested to her, because one of the bidders, our regular bidder, they have inspected these properties. They already know what they're buying it. I suggested that she sell it to that other bidder because they know what it is. But ultimately, she said, I think I should get it for $1. And I said, I can't do that because it would never go back for $1. It would go back to the next verified bidder. So she wouldn't have gotten it for $1. So hypothetically, had she said, well, I don't like the way things went. I want to back out. It would have never gone to $1. It would have went to the next highest bidder on that paper. And that paper right there was
3,200.
whatever the next verified house,
42.
4201, I think. Yep,
Who was the 4201 bidder? Do you know?
that was Pico.
That was Peter.
Yes, I think Jake backed out at 3801 or something like that. Yeah. So it would have gone to Pico. So it's never gone back to $1. That's not in the legal rules.
Okay, so hypothetically, Pico was the person who ran away. Say, for instance, his funds didn't verify. Then it would have been went to Jake, and
Yes.
Jake would have paid 32.
Yes,
So the lowest the property could have been purchased is $3,200.
I think it's 38, but we can go whatever is on that
38,
paper.
38.
3801, maybe, Jake.
You want to see her papers back here, she could.
So 3801 would have been the lowest the property would have.
That would have been the absolute lowest that property would have gone for.
And so it never could have been purchased for $1
No,
because the person who actually did have verified funds had 3801 for sure.
well, according to Ms. Foster. But
Jake had 3201.
they all had
Yeah,
their,
3801. He
they
got,
all had, but yes,
and he was the third place winner. He was the third place person.
yes,
And he got 3801.
yes.
So when she saw you count the additional 200, that was the guy had the 4,000, we needed the extra 200.
Yes.
Bid. Okay.
I have no further questions. I turn it over.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, how long have you been doing these auctions for the county? How often did you don't want to remember?
So I actually went to the department in 99, so roughly 1999, I've been doing them since 2000.
Based upon your experience with the county doing these, carrying these auctions out, can you tell us today whether there were any irregularities at all regarding the auction that Ms. Braxton won at $4,400? Anything irregular in any way, shape, or form?
No irregularities.
Seemed to me like when you were testifying that you had a good recollection of this. I just want to make sure I understand what you said about the occurrences the next day. I believe you said that when she came back the next day, when Ms. Braxton came back the next day, she was complaining about the fact that the property had been burned. Now, she testified today that prior to June 23rd, 2022, the day of the auction, she had never gone out to see the property. That you were here, did you hear her testify to that?
Yes.
Was there anything stopping her from doing that, or do you guys just assume this property is being sold as is, and anybody that puts a bid in on it had the opportunity to look it over? That's
Yes,
your stuff.
that is, we have no idea what we're selling. Like, if we make land, we have no idea. And it is, you should, and we always recommend people look at, it's kind of like buyer beware. Look at what you're spending your money on, because once you complete that transaction and you purchase it, it's yours.
Okay. Ms. Olson, the gentleman was seated in the audience with you today. Is he someone that you work with for the county?
Yes, he is.
And who is he?
That's David. CTS Milton.
Was he present at the auction on June 23rd?
No.
What would his involvement have been?
He's support, he's our attorney, the sheriff's attorney.
Oh, I
So,
see.
yes.
I got you. I have no further questions. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Lewis. You shaking your head no? Is your question? Mr. Chamber?
Now, what would have to be done for Ms. Braxton to get title to that property in Sheffield?
She would have to complete the transaction. So she hasn't endorsed the $1 check that we have to turn over to the mortgage company.
And then if she completes the endorsement of that dollar check, she should then get the title to the property.
That I don't know, because I don't know, there could be other pending things on that property, like, we have no idea what's on that title. So whether she'll get a clear title, I don't know,
I got you.
but she will get the sheriff's key, yes.
She will get the sheriff's deed once she signs and endorses the dollar cashier's check that everybody has to show up with.
Yes,
And that dollar cashier's check is what the people that are accustomed to going to this auction show up with. And then they either have cash or they have other certified checks that they use to endorse, to show that they have the verified funds.
yes, so the actual opening bid amount has to be in the form of a certified check. And it has to be made payable to the bidder. And then they in turn endorse the check over to the mortgage company.
Could someone show up and just say, I got $1 cash?
No.
It's gotta be the cash.
Whatever the opening bid amount, it has to be in the form of a certified check, because the check then goes to the mortgage company.
Okay, thanks very much.
Mr. Wood?
Who verifies your tally?
Say that again, I'm
Who
sorry.
verifies your tally? While you're doing your bid, who verified? Is that verified after any verification of all the bids?
As far as like the amount,
Yeah, like you had your running sheet of who did what. Is that verified with another process?
no, that's it, yes.
That's right. Okay. How do we record it after that? Did it record it to official document or? how did that work?
What happens is this is the packet right here. And, the deed is changed over to the successful bidder's name.
Mhm.
And then they get a copy of their deeds along with the original deed that needs to be recorded. And these bidding sheets, the competitive, we keep that with as part of the file. So
Okay.
anytime something comes back, we can see who did what.
Mr. Longstreet, any further questions?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Could you please have remain in your seat there for just a few more minutes?
Sure.
Mr. Longstreet, would you like to question Ms. Broxton as to whether there's any comments or additions that she wants to make for her testimony in light of what Ms. Hilson has testified to?
She can have a moment to rebut, however, I think the board has enough at this point to make a decision
Okay.
on whether the ethics board is violated. So I don't think there's any further requirement. Well, for me, I don't know if there's any further requirement. I don't believe so. At this point, I have enough information to provide a.
Mr. Shea?
I'm all set.
Mr. Wood? I think I'm all set too. Well, thank you very much. Well, it's time to discuss the matter and make a determination as to what we're going to do, and then we'll ask if anybody has a motion regarding the resolution case. So what I will ask is this, anybody want to make any comments or have any discussion regarding the testimony that we've heard from Ms. Broxton and the testimony we've heard from Ms. Hilson?
Excuse me. I thought I was gonna get a chance to ask some additional questions.
Well, that was if we had questions for you, and I apologize if I misled you in any way.
Okay, I thought you said once you made it.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I want to be fair to you. Is there something that you briefly want to tell us? Because we've heard detailed testimony from you, we've heard detailed testimony from Ms. Hilson. If there's something that you want to say briefly concerning her testimony, I'm going to allow you to do that.
Well, what I would like to say is this. I would like, since there are bidding rules, I think the bidding rules should be applicable across the board. In my opinion, on certain dates, when the same thing has occurred. People walked away with the plus dollar. And the dollar is the initial bid. And I have dates, new records to reflect what I'm saying. So anything that's held at the end, not verified. And I think it makes it invalid if you close before you verify all funds. That's what I believe. And since in that verification, was also admitted that he did flee, but she said he didn't make it out of the auditorium. The other two other folks that came before me, that they caught him and told me he had to come back. So there is some inconsistencies. We're both saying the same thing. We both realize the rules. You know, I'm an ex-educator, realtor, all of this, and I do believe in following the rules. And those rules, they're being this for one person and not another person, and things being chaotic and unorganized. Although people have been in their jobs for years and years, but they weren't doing that particular job. That job was done by someone else. When you come and you try to fill those seats into something that's new, you may be over whatever you're over, but you're doing something that someone who reported to you did on a regular basis. It's a new learning curve because it's not something you do on a regular basis. So were there inconsistencies? Were everybody fumbling? Was it chaotic? Is it done a little bit better now? Because they're more careful in checking each and every cell. But again, mine was not confirmed. That auction was closed before anything was verified. And so for me, that made it invalid. If anyone were to challenge the validity of sales, that foreclosure sales that happen in Wayne County, because in other counties, those sales have to prove that they are valid sales. If not, the homeowners of those homes would not be forced out if the sale was not big.
All right. Well, thank you for those comments, and I understand what you're saying, but you are an educated individual, you're very articulate, and you know that today we're looking at your complaint that you filed.
Yes.
So things that you might have heard about the process in Wayne County from others, or your other experiences there, or even your experiences in other counties, that's not something that we're examining today. We've heard your testimony, we've heard Ms. Hilson's testimony. I want to focus in on a word that you used. You used a word that one of those bidders fled. Well, that's a word that you used to describe it. The way Ms. Hilson described it was that person didn't win the bid, and he was leaving the building. A lot of things, a lot of witnesses' testimony involved perception. So what we're going to do now, we're closing that portion of the hearing involving testimony and the taking of evidence. And we're going to go around the table and let anybody make any comments if they want to discuss the matter. Ms. Lewis, you first.
Yes, I thank you. Based on what I've heard today, I don't agree that there was some violations of our ethics board, section 44. I don't agree that there was any fraud or bribery or I feel like the process was followed. And just with the follow-up conversation the next day, that's sort of that.
Mr. Schaefer?
I agree with Ms. Lewis, and I think the documentation that was brought in by Ms. Hilson on the bidding process is strong evidentiary support that the bidding process was followed. And in addition, if the winning bidder could not verify the funds, then it goes to the next winning bidder. There's no way this property would have been sold for $1. It's proffered by Ms. Braxton. So I think we've got all the information we need.
Mr. Woods?
Well, yeah, based on the information provided and my review of the facts, as I see them, I move that I'm in support of the rest of the board.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion? Well, excuse me, Mr. Longstreet, is there anything you want to say? You know how the board members feel. You know how I feel. Is there anything that you want to add, or can we look for a motion?
After the review of the evidence, it would be, in my opinion, it would be my recommendation that the board dismiss the action for no cause of action.
Anybody want to make a motion?
A second.
Well, he can't
I
make
can't
a
make a
motion.
motion.
You're going to make a motion?
Okay.
Okay,
You can make a motion to adopt my recommendation,
Okay.
dismiss for lack of no action or no cause of action.
okay.
I make a motion to agreed to, Mr. Longstreet that there is no cause for, action.
You want any discussion period on your motion? Okay, any second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Put me down for an aye. Ms. Broxton? On behalf of the board, we want to thank you very much for coming in. And Ms. Hilton and counsel for the county want to thank the two of you for coming in as well. That closes our matter. Regarding your complaint. Shall we go to the next matter, or did we want to take a washroom break for a minute? Anybody need a washroom break?
At this point, the only thing we have to certificate of appreciation to Ms. Haroon and Mr. Pinkins. And I think thereafter, the board may decide, oh, there's lobbyist registration as well.
Well, the lobbyist registration, I really wasn't concerned with, but what I would like to address is new business under paragraph capital E. We have Ms. Parisian here today. Is she still here? We do. Ma'am, you want to come up? We don't have Ms. Johnson, who usually attends our meetings to fill us in on matters relating, matters between our board and the county commission. But there is something that I wanted to say while Ms. Parisian is here. We had a subcommittee that worked on proposed amendments to the ethics code. The board felt that there were several weaknesses in the code, several things that needed to be cleared up, several things that needed to be completely modified. We submitted that before the end of the year. And I do want you to know that one of my duties from today going forward is going to be to work with Ms. Spivey and Mr. Longstreet on the agendas. And what I would like to do, with all due respect, I'm not asking you to do it. I guess the one we're really asking to do would be Ms. Johnson and or her office or a designee. I believe that it would be helpful if each month, we'll put it on the agenda, each month, for us to find out what, if any, action is being taken on the ethics code. I want to tell you why I bring that up. This is the second time that our board has gone through the ethics code and proposed changes. Now, what I will tell you is, even today as we sit here, January 18, 2023, I have never found out what happened with that set of changes. I've heard Mr. Slezak give us a piece of information. I heard the prior, and I have great respect for Mr. Slezak. I heard the prior chair, Mr. Pinkins, give us what he thought were updates. But one thing that I can tell you for sure, whatever was done with it physically, the proposed changes that go back a couple years, no action was ever taken on. Zilch, I can assure you of that. We've talked about it at various meetings. So what I thought is that being the person that kind of is responsible for working with Ms. Spivey on the agenda each month, I would like to make that a permanent matter on there until we agree as a board to take it off. Just every month, Ms. Johnson or Ms. Parisian or whoever can just give us an update. We submitted it a few months ago. And as of right now, I can tell you this positively. To my knowledge, and I'll stand correct, I don't think that we've ever heard of any action being taken on it. And now maybe it's sitting on a desk or in a pile of papers. So I think you should know, and you might want to tell Ms. Johnson, I hope that she respects our concerns. We want to know what's going on. We feel that there were important changes proposed in there. And maybe the commission would want to have a couple members of the board come before them. We could all go before them, or perhaps maybe me and Ms. Lewis, who's the vice chair, can go before them and talk about why we felt those were so important. And I'm not going to go through them here today. I'm not going to talk about it, but I will tell you that's going to be on each month. And unless and until our council and the members of the board feel that we just want to forget about it, like the last set of changes were forgotten about. So with that said, that takes care of the new business that I wanted to bring up. And that brings us down to the receive and file certificates. Mr. Slezak, could you update them on what you did with the certificates when they were received?
Well, through the chair, this is Joe Slezak. Both of the certificates were delivered to Mr. Pinkins and Ms. Civil. They received the great certificates.
Okay, very good. Anybody have any questions about that? I had actually been hoping that we would have gotten them on Zoom so that we could all congratulate them. Yeah, but it didn't work out. That brings us down to item number 2, the lobby registration forms. We don't really need to talk about that. What we did as a board a couple months ago is we just said this, since we were, yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Slezak?
So, yes, through the chair, we need a motion to receive and file those certificates.
Oh, okay. We need a motion?
Yes.
I'll tell you what, anybody want to make the motion?
Motion to receive and file the certificates for certificates and this.
Second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Record me as an aye. All right, the paragraph number 2, receive and file lobby registration forms. I really don't know that we need a motion on that. We just agreed that when they come in, that
I'm keeping.
yeah, that they're gonna go to Mr. Longstreet, he's gonna keep. So from now on, I guess in the future, we squawked a little bit about not getting them in the past, and now we're getting them, but we really don't have to do anything with them.
I think the way the process is, I received a copy, I'll keep a copy for the board. There's also a copy with the commission in which they have a file with the ethics board. So 2 parties have the same copy of the same document is okay with me.
Okay, that brings us down to subparagraph F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the board. Anybody have any other matters that they want to submit or talk about?
Through the chair, thank you, Chair Thomas. I just want to state for the record to clarify that Chair Philip Thomas and Vice Chair Keisha Lewis will serve out their respective positions until December 31st, 2024.
Do you need a motion for that or just? that
No,
just-
I just want to state that. for the record.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Public comments, Ms. Spivey.
No emails have been received and all lines have been asked to unmute.
Okay, that brings us down to H. Anybody want to make a motion regarding adjournment?
Since we're there.
Like Mr. Woods, I'll second his motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If we got it, motion carried and we're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very much. I said it was a pleasure.